Hello, Paper and Glam readers. Welcome to February's installment of the Paper and Glam Book Club. Today we are discussing our February selection, of course, which is Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle Melton. And while we wait for the live feed to catch up, we always like to start book club with a fun little icebreaker just to kind of get everyone introduced to our amazing book chatters and just kind of get to know each other a little bit. So book chatters, this is only our second book club of the year, as you know. I know a lot of folks joined for January. So why don't we say our name and then what we're most looking forward to this spring, whether that is a trip or a specific just activity, really anything. And those of you who are in the live chat, if you would share what you're most excited about, I think that'd be really fun. I don't know about you, but I get to this kind of point into the year and I feel like I am so ready to look forward to spring. So let's do that. I will go first and say that I am most excited probably because I'm going to Vegas on May 6th to see Britney Spears, my amazing creative director, Jessica. It's her 2-year Glamiversary with Paper and Glam. It's her birthday. So I did a Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, Happy Glamiversary present, and we have front row tickets to Britney Spears on May 6th, so I cannot wait for that. And I'm also kind of using it as a bit of a deadline to kind of get in shape for summer and get some extra gym glam motivation. So that's what I'm most excited about. Cindy, how about you?
I'm most excited about losing the winter coats. Being in the Canadian weather, I'm a little over the layers and I'm a little over looking like a bonum every time I leave the house. So, you know, just getting rid of layers, getting outside for a walk, getting some fresh air, and just spring in general, the flowers, and it gets really pretty at that time of year where we live. So yeah, I'm most looking forward to that.
Hi, I'm Hayden, and like Cindy, I live in a very cold part of the world, sometimes, Oregon, and it's been a horrible winter, and I'm just very excited to see tulips and flowers and be able to walk my dogs and then going to work in the morning and the sun be out and coming home and the sun be out because I'm really tired of it being dark all the time.
I'm Erica, and unlike Cindy and Hayden, I have not had a horrible winter. It has been fairly nice, especially this February. It was 86 degrees here today. But what I am most looking forward to, normally it would be the weather, but my husband is a teacher and they have what's considered to be a year-round schedule. And so in March, he gets 2 weeks off for spring break. And since all of our kids are now in school, that means the first week of his spring break, because they're in different school districts, the first week of his spring break will just be the two of us at home. And that's the first time that we'll have that for spring break. That's our first spring break together for, I don't know, 8-9 years. So definitely looking forward to that. And we will probably end up going somewhere with the kids on their week off. So we got that vacation to look forward to as well.
Hi guys, my name is Tabitha, and for spring I don't really have a whole lot going on, but I'm such an odd person. I'm looking forward to like a little spring cleaning. I'm strange, I know. I like purging and organizing and getting rid of a bunch of stuff. I'm also looking forward to my birthday in April. It's I don't know if you can consider your birthday a holiday, but I treat my birthday like it's a holiday, and we really I go all out. I celebrate the whole week. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the spring.
Sarah, I think you're on mute. Wait, am I the only one who can't hear Sarah?
No, I can't hear her either.
Okay, I was like, wait, maybe I'm on mute? Oh no, we can't hear her. That's so weird. It was working fine.
That's weird.
Okay. Sarah, let us know. Just start talking if you're able to. Yeah. Oh wait, now she's on mute. Oh. No, we still can't hear you. Okay. Oh, this live stream. Sorry. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. It's not a perfect system, I don't think. All right. Jaina, do you mind going next? And Sarah, hopefully we'll get back to you.
Okay. So I think I'm excited for spring's super busy for us because my anniversary is April 26th. My birthday is May 4th. Then there's Mother's Day, and then like other people have stuff too. So, but I think we're gonna go to El Capitan and see Beauty and the Beast for our anniversary. And you know, like they have all the costumes and stuff, and so I think we're gonna go do that at the end of like April, May-ish, because that's like the last weekend they're gonna have it there, and just do some like fun stuff down in LA and hang.
That sounds amazing. If you want someone to crash your Glammiversary, I will join you because I totally want to do that too. Sarah, can we hear you?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, go for it.
Hooray. Hello, I'm Sarah. I tend to talk when I'm on mute naturally, so no surprise that this happened. I am most excited. My husband and I are going for we do a small weekend away to celebrate our anniversary in March every year. And so we're going to go up to Victoria, Canada, which we went last year, but he had sprained his ankle. So it was a horrible, lazy time. So we're going to do everything we didn't get to do last year this year. And I'm super excited for that.
Awesome. Thank you. And I didn't say my name. My name is Lisa Marie. And if it is your first time to our Paper and Glam Book Club, let us know in the comments so we can welcome you and welcome to our book club. I'm excited to read along with everyone this year because we just have so many different books. I'm excited to read along with you every year. And every book seems like it's kind of going to hit a different point. So Love Warrior is definitely one of those that fits into that category. So this book, we're going to get into it, but it's about Glennon Doyle Melton, the author, kind of working through her marriage, to say the very least. And it has fallen under some scrutiny and definitely some controversy because as it was published and after the Paper and Glam Book Club list went to print, it was announced that she had decided to leave her husband, and shortly thereafter, she announced that she was with a woman, and I think she's engaged to I want to say her name's Abby, and that's not right. She's a professional soccer player, but she is engaged to a female professional soccer player. So I know that can kind of cloud maybe the book a little bit for you. I know I was rooting for a happy ending for Craig and Glennon, so it was tough for that to come out before I'd even started it, because I was like, no, I want them to make it. But let's definitely just kind of keep our discussion about the book and kind of what is written in the book, because I really want this always to be a positive, happy night, regardless of kind of whether you like the book or not, or whether you agree or not. I think it's kind of it would be sad if we could only read books that are written by people who think exactly like us or are right in our wheelhouse. And that's kind of what the Paper and Glam Book Club is about, right? It's about maybe picking up books that we wouldn't typically read by authors that we wouldn't typically read. So, all right, the first question is always, how many stars, and what was your experience of reading the book? So I liked it. I give it 3 stars. It was, I know Tabitha and a few others are kind of gonna go there. I go here, but it was a little bit hard for me because part of me is very type awesome and is life is hard. You just kind of make it work. And I think with Carry On Warrior, I really felt which is her first book, I feel like I read these back to back, so I feel like my commentary is kind of gonna almost go back and forth between these, but she addresses this somewhat, and I'm sure we'll talk about it somewhat, but she talks about kind of using the easy button in life too much, and that's a little bit how I felt with Carry On Warrior. And then there were just parts of Love Warrior that made it a little bit, I hate to say whiny because that sounds more critical than I mean. But there was just parts that totally blew my mind and parts that was a little bit of a rant, especially towards the end. So I give it a solid 3 stars. Cindy, how about you?
I went into reading this book completely green, not having any idea, never heard of Glennon Doyle Melton before. Didn't know what to expect. Totally went in pretty much thinking I was going to read it like a novel. So I had no preconceived notions about what it was about. I didn't know there was a prequel to this or anything like that. So based on that, it was an easy read. I got through it pretty well. I gave it a 3.5 rating. Like I said, there isn't a whole lot of relatability for me personally. I've never been so beautiful. I didn't know what to do with myself. So, you know, for me, you know, it's a book. I take it for what it is. I do feel for her struggles, you know, not to downplay like some of the stuff that she's gone through. It's obvious that she's, you know, has some difficulties, but you know, yeah, 3.5. It was a good experience. I didn't hate it. It was easy to get through. I read it like a story, so I thought it was good.
I, like my sister Cindy, we tend to always feel the same way about things, gave it a 3.5. The only reason I didn't give it a 4 is because I felt like someone in her life needed to tell her she needed to go to therapy way earlier on before she ever went. It was very clear that she was suffering from something that was pent up inside, and no marriage, person, booze, bulimia, children is going to fix that for her. And I wish someone would have told her that, so that way she could have maybe started her self-discovery a little sooner. But overall, I enjoyed the book, and I honestly was surprised at how raw she wrote things, because I can honestly say that I probably would never speak as honestly about my own struggles as she did. So kudos to her, and that's really brave. And I plan to read Carry On Warrior after this because I didn't have a chance to read it beforehand. So I'm interested to see how the two books relate.
I'm pretty much right there with Lisa Marie on this. I'm going to give it a 3 because there were parts of it that I really enjoyed, and I was like, I'm really in agreement with, and other parts that I just had problems with, whether it was the way that it was written or, I mean, not so much about what she was doing, because I can deal with people doing things that I would not necessarily do. But I know when Lisa Marie announced this as part of the book club list for this year, I had already read it, and my first instinct was, I don't know how to talk about that book, because like these kind of books where they're very emotional, the way that I read and relate to things, it like ends up affecting me, and like I absorb those emotions. So I felt like my life was tumultuous while I was reading this, because all of her like anger and stuff that she was feeling as her marriage was falling apart, I started to feel. And so that kind of, I had to get far enough away from that to like judge it not based on how I felt while I read it, because I don't know even how I would have rated it if I just based it on emotion. But yeah, I mean, there were things that I definitely had struggles with as I read it, but I think overall it was decent, and it was definitely a perspective that you don't see often, or you don't read from often. So overall, I would say I enjoyed it.
Sorry, guys. Hey, so I gave it 1 star. And I you know, I'm sorry. I know that in the Facebook group, a lot of people were enjoying it, and because I didn't know anything about the author or anything, so I was hoping to enjoy it also. But as I was listening to it, I listened to it Audible, and it just felt like, it started off, I liked it. Starting off, I was like, okay, sounds like it's going to be good, but it just stayed in one place for me. It stayed in a place where it just felt like it was just an unfiltered rant, an angry rant, like from someone's diary, like something that, you know, we all have like thoughts and things that go through our head, but should those thoughts be released to the world? I don't think I'm in agreement with that. So it was really difficult for me to get through the book. I felt like I didn't have a happy moment when I was reading it. I was concerned the entire time. I was trying to figure out where all of her pain was coming from, because I didn't feel like, for me reading it, it wasn't clear as to what her pain, the source of her pain. So it was hard for me to relate to what was going on. And I felt like the aspect of her having a representative, I kind of felt like that was actually who she was. Like, that's, you know, I feel like that's who she was, and maybe she was just looking for someone to say, oh, it's okay to be that. I don't know, it was hard. It was hard for me to, I know it was hard for me to like, I mean, it's a memoir, it's her story, so it's about her, but it was hard for me to like her. So I don't know. Yeah, I just gave it a 1.
I feel like, I don't know, probably a 3. I enjoyed it. I was as well deeply concerned, wished she would have, and don't understand why she didn't seek, you know, like professional help sooner for some of her issues. A lot of red flags for me. I mean, I work with kids with troubled backgrounds and stuff, so like a lot of the things she was talking about, I was like, who were just all kinds of red flags, even though I know she had, you know, like a happy childhood. It just, I don't know. So there were a lot of things that were alarming to me. I enjoyed it. I don't know. So yeah, 3 stars. I read it. I was reading Carry On Warrior at the same time, but had to kind of abandon that because it was too much for me, for the 2 of them, and I needed to focus in on Love Warrior. And I listened to a little bit of it because I thought I panicked at the end and didn't think I was going to finish it. She's kind of a slow reader, so that didn't speed me up. I didn't feel like very much, but I enjoyed listening to, like, I liked how she read her story. It added a level of rawness that I appreciated to, you know, kind of like a heavy subject. But then I think I did maybe miss some stuff because I tuned her out because she was so, like, soothing. But probably a 3. I think it's a 3.
I give it a 1 too. So yeah, I never, this is probably like 1 of 3 books I've ever given a 1 to. Like, the notes I have for this book are me just having an argument with her, like screaming at her, like, what, like, from pretty much page 1, because page 1 was just like way too flowery. Like the very beginning is like way too flowery and fluffy for me. So I was like, ugh, this is gross. Like, I can't handle that. And so that like turned me off. And I was like, if the whole book's like this flowery, I won't be able to handle it. But then the rest isn't flowery necessarily. But like from the beginning when she's like, I was 4 and I learned that pretty warms and smart cools. And I was like, no. And even if you don't think that now, like, no, like, what would cause you to think that? And like to have the root of a problem like so young at 4, like, what, like, I just couldn't, I don't know. And there's just so many things. Or that she says she didn't really go to class in college yet, somehow she got a degree, so she's like skeptical about her college, which then that makes me like, then I'm skeptical about you as like an intellectual human being if you're saying you went and taught and you don't even, like, you didn't go to class. And like, just so many things. And I don't expect to connect to a story because I don't think I've ever read a story where I'm like, that's me, like, all the way, because obviously, like, no one's me and no one's you. Like, you know, I think that she has, like, you know, I definitely think that she's right that, like, there is a problem in the world about, like, porn and, like that porn is okay and normal and stuff like that, and the normalization of porn. And, you know, I appreciated those points because I think that so much human trafficking and stuff comes out of that aspect. And so, like, that to me would be like the redeeming quality about the book, is that, you know, she raises awareness of how porn and like just overexposure to sex and stuff, like, can just, you know, destroy a person's mind and marriage later on. But beyond that, I had like nothing.
Sorry. Jada, you asked me if that order would mess me up, and I was like, no, I'll be fine, but then I messed up. Sorry. All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing your experience of the book. So our next question, and this is always my favorite question because I just love collecting quotes, and it is, what was your favorite quote or moment from Love Warrior or Carry On Warrior? I put and Carry On Warrior in case, you know, there was something you wanted to share, because the stories did overlap a little bit. So, you know, this is something that I kind of want to get into more when we get to number 5, which is, did Glennon's growth change your outlook on your own behavior? But I absolutely just, this quote just completely blew my mind on page 193. And if you guys have hung out with me for a while, then you may know I'm like fascinated just by the idea of just learning how to do life well and just figuring it out. And this quote about balance was just crazy. She said, balance is created by equal forces pressing in on an object. I stand there pressing my legs together. She's doing yoga. And it hits me. I've been trying to find my balance by eliminating pressure from my life. The demands of work, friendship, and family all felt so heavy. But what if all this pressure isn't what's throwing me off, but what's holding me steady? What if pressure is just love, and love is what keeps me anchored? So honestly, I'd love for you guys to help me kind of unpack this a little bit, because I was like, my mind was blown. And then at the end, when she said, what if pressure is just love, and love is what keeps me anchored? I don't know that pressure is love. That last point sends me in another direction. But that pressure keeps us balanced, that resonated with me just incredibly, because when I find when I'm at my best is when I'm able to do, that was weird, my mute just went on. I'm able to do a little bit of everything. Part of me is such like a finisher. I find myself just like wanting to check off my list and like get certain things done. But a lot of what I do isn't really things that I can just finish in one sitting, but I find myself wanting to power through. And I really that just made me want to balance my days more and kind of accept pressure as a helper and not something that's holding me back. So that was kind of the point that I'm still thinking about it. And I read the book, let's say about a week ago, and I'm still like unpacking that. So I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on it. Cindy, how about you?
It's interesting because one of the quotes, I have a couple things. One of the quotes that stood out to me while I was reading, because again, it was something that I would relate to, is on page 181, where she says, so my future self is going to forget this mess and this pain and eventually want another relationship. All right, when this fool that is my future self meets somebody someday, what are the chances that that new relationship will be better than the one I'm in now? Can you give me percentages? And it's the irony that I would remember that is comes full circle when we unpack, what happened since the book was written and how her new relationship, but that aside, that's kind of how I would react to something of the similar nature, where it's like, well, what are the chances that that's going to be better than this? And that kind of spoke to me. I also really like the part where she uses the metaphors of the costumes and representatives, and that goes back to what Jada was saying before about she uses these metaphors, but that it's really her that she's sending in. But I kind of like the costumes because we kind of wear costumes. We have our work costumes, we have our play costumes, we have stuff that we wear to certain things and only wear to certain events. Like we have our workout costumes that we wear, our workout gear. Some of us wear that to the grocery store too. But I like what I thought that was kind of cool that she used those. Not so much representative, because like I said, I do agree what was said before about the representative actually being her. But maybe she wasn't comfortable with admitting that that was her. In her mind, it was her representative. So that's all I have. Thanks.
So I have two quotes. Well, they're more like paragraphs. So my first one is on page 166, and it's at the bottom of the page. The surf continues to hit the sand rhythmically and dependably, and I trust it will continue. The sun is setting, but I know it will rise again tomorrow. There's a pattern to things. This makes me wonder if I can also trust that there is a pattern, a rhythm, a beauty, a natural rise and fall to my life as well. I wonder if the one thing holding together the sky might also be capable of holding together my heart. I wonder if the one making the sky so achingly beautiful might also be working to make my life beautiful too. And I really struggled after I lost my mom. We were very close, and it tore me up for a long time. I felt guilt, shame, hate, a lot of things that she felt. And reading that paragraph made me think back to the times that I was asking myself, why did this happen to such a vibrant, beautiful woman? And reading this just also resonated with me because I kind of came to the same conclusion after almost a year in therapy that, you know, everything is held together for a purpose and there's a pattern, and then I just have to trust that it's working. And then my second one is her apology to her body on page 256. I'm sorry, this is me making amends. I'm going to love you now because you are the vessel through which my world delivers beauty, love, and wisdom to my soul. My eyes take the beauty in the gulf. My lungs take the freedom in the air. My mouth and stomach accept life from food, drink. My arms gather the love of my children. My breasts, legs, and hands accept the return love of my husband. You are the ship that delivers love from the shore of another being to the shore of me. I was an island before. I didn't know how to let myself out or let others in. Thank you. Thank you for accepting all this love and beauty on my soul's behalf. Thank you for being patient with me. I did not suffer from bulimia, but I spent many years suffering from anorexia and overexercising and hating myself. And I have been on a journey to love myself and my current body and whatever body I've been provided in. So that also really resonated with me because it's a struggle to talk about how you don't love yourself, especially in a society that constantly pressures you to be something that you can never attain. I mean, we see on the cover of magazines all the time women who are photoshopped down so much that they look like they wear a 0 when in reality they're probably a 6 or an 8. And that's just so damaging on young girls and young boys too. If you look at their covers, they're covered in muscly men. It's just the things we're told to attain are unattainable, and people should talk about their struggle more so we can all learn to heal from that.
One of my favorite parts was when her daughters are talking about the word sexy, and she says, this is, I'm just pulling some huge paragraph, or it's like a page, and I would tell you what page it's on, but I read it through my library's e-reader thing and the pages are all messed up, so I have no clue where it is. But she says, real sexy is taking off all your costumes and being yourself. Fake sexy is just wearing another costume. And she says, what I want to be is beautiful. Beautiful means full of beauty. Beauty is not about how you look on the outside. Beautiful is about what you're made of. Beautiful people spend time discovering what their idea of beauty on this earth is. They know themselves well enough to know what they love, and they love themselves enough to fill up with a little of their particular kind of beauty each day. And I just, I don't know, just that whole idea of fighting against the message that just everybody sees, not just girls, boys, everybody sees it, of what is beautiful and what is attractive, and just giving something concrete to hold on to when you're searching for like what to strive for.
I don't have a favorite quote, but I do have a favorite moment. I like the moment when she was able to go and get therapy, and she was able to connect with a therapist. Because like when she went to therapy with her husband and how she hated that therapist, I was happy that she was able to feel a connection with a person. And I like the fact that she was able to show, you know, I know, just felt like in some of her descriptions that maybe she had such a hard time connecting. So seeing that she could actually like have a respect for someone and connect with them. I also like the fact when she eventually understood more of her husband's struggle. I enjoyed that part. And what I like is I like the fact that she is, even if I, didn't necessarily enjoy the book, I do like the fact that was bold enough to tell her story. Everyone has a story, and we can't always identify with everyone's story, but she definitely had the boldness to say, hey, this is what happened to me, and these were my thoughts, and this was my truth, and she was able to put it out there. So even with not agreeing with her, I can say that, kudos to her for having the boldness to step out there. And I can think that, some of us would want to have that type of boldness, and even to the point where you open yourself up for the world to criticize you. So I do have respect for that, even though I didn't enjoy the book.
Mine is kind of a tack on for Erica, because it's like in the same section, the talking about beautiful. I just really liked, I had a couple, but I like this one as well. Women who are concerned with being pretty think about what they look like, but women who are concerned with being beautiful think about what they're looking at. They're taking it all in. They're taking the whole beautiful world and making all that beauty theirs to give away to others. I don't know. I probably haven't sat with it long enough to fully articulate why I like that. I like it. It's something for me to think about. I like the idea of being more concerned about what you put out in the world than what the world thinks of you and how you look, and the emphasis on being your value and what you put into the world and what you see in the world and what you see in others.
So I have on page 65, because I got my book from the library, so mine are all in notes. Sorry, mine are gonna be slim. I liked when she said God requires something of us, and like some attentiveness, some awareness. That's how I took that. And then also, like continuing on, she says God insists of nothing short of healing. God deals only with truth, and the truth will set you free, but it will hurt so badly first. And so I feel like she realized that she needed to become an honest person, because she was essentially, she calls it her representative, but she was lying to the world and to herself is really what it was. Like it sounds less pretty, but like that's being a liar, and it's being in denial. It's whatever different words, but they're all facets of the same basic thing. And we all are guilty of it from time to time, and then on page 121, it says, it occurs to me that saving pornography on this computer is like pouring whiskey into Alma's sippy cup. And I just really like that, because I think that like that's an issue that people, like in our society, it's just like, yeah, like porn's awesome. Like, no, it's better for your marriage. It's better for your relationship. Everyone does it. It's like normal. If your husband's not doing it, like it's weird. Like, I think that is definitely like a mainstream idea. And but then like your kids see it, and like porn addiction rates, like children can get addicted to porn if they're exposed to it at like age 6, if they happen to fall upon it and stuff. And so I think that, like I said earlier, I just think that awareness, because I think our society is just really like, if you really want to fight these stereotypes and stuff, that's kind of where you have to start, is like in the stuff that is kept secret and and hidden, and it's like, it's okay, everyone's doing it, it's cool, but it's cool, but it's secret, we don't talk about it. So then is it really cool? Because those sorts of things, I think that I really appreciated that in the book. And I think and that she does realize, like, oh, Craig's problem is the same as mine, and it's because of these things. Like, he was told he felt men needed to do this, and I felt women needed to do this. That she kind of realized, like, that he was suffering from the same essential, like, key issue.
Okay, sorry, I hit the wrong button instead of unmute. Thank you guys for sharing. I loved hearing all your quotes. That was just so fun. All right, so the third question is a little bit heavy, but I thought it was a good one for this group especially, just since, you know, so many of, you know, well, we are women, and, you know, she talks about this from the men's perspective too, which is really interesting. So I'll just read the question, and this is from Oprah's book club. So thank you, Oprah's book club, for letting me borrow this question. But it says, by the time she graduates high school, Glennon has come to see that there are hidden rules about how to matter as a girl. Glennon later understands how she's been hurt by the messages our culture sends about what success should look like and feel like for a woman. What are those messages? Where do they come from? What hidden rules did you follow or feel pressured to follow as a child or a teenager? How about now? How has following those rules affected your life? So I'll start. This is like a tougher question for sure. And it totally hits close to home for me. As a child, and this is common for children, I know, but as a child, one of the first things that was said to me was, oh my gosh, you're so big. And that's common with kids, right? Because they're growing, but it's something that was always said to me. And to this day, it's the first thing my grandma says to me anytime that she sees me. And my grandma is 90 years old, and she's about 5 feet tall, and I am 5'5". So, I mean, I'm bigger than her 100%. And I'm also the same, I'm taller than her children. So both my uncles and my mom, significantly taller. So even at 5'5", but that was so hardwired in me that I actually think like that's the first thing people see about me is that I'm like too big, or that I'm bigger than everyone else. And so that's like something that I have come to believe about myself, and something I still have to think about is that I feel like I am just like a giant, like a small people world. And I'm Latina, so a lot of, you know, my family is smaller in stature, and I am bigger than them, but you know, that's not true. Like a 5'5" is by no means tall. And even my cousin, God bless him, the other day, he met Taylor Swift, and he was like, you know, she's so tall like you. And I'm like, Taylor Swift is like 5'10", isn't she? You know, like I'm 5'5". But anyway, you know, that's just, you know, that this is still something that I have to be like, remember, that's not true. To this day, I mean, that happened like last week with Taylor Swift, or last month, where I was like, no, like she's like so tall and so statuesque, and yeah. Anyway, you guys are catching what I'm throwing. So yeah, that's something that really, it's like we are taught as women to take up less space. And I was talking to one of my friends, we were talking about workouts that would be good to do at the gym. And, you know, I go to Equinox, which, you know, people are so intense at Equinox, which is great. It's one of the things that's great about it. But I heard myself say to my friend, you know, I need to think of some workouts that like take up less space, because I don't want to take up too much space. And I like heard myself say that, like, what? Like, where does this come from? So I just love the question, because this is something I've been thinking about too, is like, where did these rules even come from? Like, I don't think there's a man in Equinox who thinks like, let me think of a workout that takes up less space. Like, maybe there is, but anyway, I'm excited to unpack this question with you guys. So I'll pass the mic to Cindy, because I just want to hash this out.
Well, first of all, I'm 5'7", so there you go, Lisa Marie. I can take this in so many directions. I think I have a decade on most of you other ladies on the panel. So I think that 10 years makes a big difference. And I'm not unlike Lisa Marie. Again, I'm the child of immigrant parents. I don't know if I shouldn't assume Lisa Marie, but I am. And and it's funny because I find myself telling my 2 daughters this all the time, and I make it a point of saying it all the time. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you don't want. I was never told I could be a pilot. I was never told that I could be whatever, you know, like I love flying, and no one ever said to me, well, you know, if you're going, what was told to me, well, maybe you could be a stewardess. That's what we called them back in the day. But, you know, I didn't want to be a glorified server. Now that's what they are, you know, there's more to it than that. But no one ever said that, you know, I could You know, it was like, go to school, make sure you know how to type, make sure you know how to do the secretarial and admin stuff, and maybe you'll get yourself a really good job if you get into a really good field. And you know, you buy into that. And to this day, like as you guys know, I recently started a new job, not recently, but last year. And exactly what you're saying about the gym, Lisa Marie, it's okay, how do I make myself smaller? How do I make this happen without making the waves? And you're absolutely right. None of the men would think that way. They'd be like, this is what I want to happen, and this is how we're going to do it, and bang, 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 that's that. Whereas being a woman, it's more like, okay, how can we do this without, you know, ruffling too many feathers or stepping on too many toes or, you know, causing too many waves. So totally get that. Also, what you were saying about your stature, we can go on a tangent about that. And I think we all can, where there's this expectation, whether it's your size or your hair color or whatever, you know, we could always, there's always this image of beauty. And again, we can go on and on about the media and now the social media and the cyberbullying and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'll leave that there.
I promise I won't get on my soapbox because I talk about my feminist thoughts a lot. So, but I will say that I grew up in the South, and I was told at a very young age, if I wasn't skinny, pretty, knew how to cook and clean, I would never get a husband. Well, I promise you that I cannot cook worth a flip. I have poisoned poor Roman more times than I've probably made something that's actually good. Luckily, he can cook. And my cleaning, well, you know, it comes and goes. My house is mostly clean, but, you know, sometimes I don't take the clothes out of the dryer and hang them up. But I just think that we all have to look inside ourselves. I don't know when that broke for me, because obviously I'm not like that at all. And I got very lucky when I found my mate, because we feel very genuinely about each other and about the roles in the household. If we ever have kids, I never have to worry about doing everything, because I know Roman will step up. He already does with our animals. I never have to worry about, oh, well, you know, if I wanted to have a corporate job, he would be behind me, supporting me the whole way. And I feel very blessed and lucky to have that in my life. And I know a lot of people don't. And I think it's very important that we as women look in the mirror and say that we are enough, we are good enough, and we can do whatever we want to, regardless of what anybody says or anybody rant and raves, because we are people regardless of our gender, skin color, hair color, eye color, stature, fat, skinny, thick, curvy, board-like, whatever you want to call us. And I hope everyone here feels that way.
I was trying to think, let me read through the question again. Because I could go a lot of different places. Well, I was going to talk about high school, and like she talks about she fit in because she knew to stay quiet and all this stuff. But I felt the opposite. Like I felt like I didn't fit in because I was too quiet. It's like there's this fine line. You're either too loud or you're too quiet. There, and if you don't fit into this certain mold, then you're just, you know, whatever. And I knew that I was never going to fit into that mold because words just escape me when I get in around like big groups of people. And like I was never going to be the one talking in front of like my classmates and entertaining them and all this stuff. So I didn't even try. Like that was never on my radar. So I was never like striving to fit into like being popular or whatever. And that makes me sound a lot more confident than I was, because I wasn't at all probably. But I did like have certain, I don't know, lines that I would draw, and I was pretty stubborn about sticking to them. But I guess I was thinking about where I felt most pressure to like conform to this certain thing was at my job that I had for years. And it wasn't horrible. It was just like women had to answer the phone for the most part, because a woman's voice just sounds nicer on the phone. So the guys never had to, like, they didn't have to have their work interrupted to pick up the phone, but we did because we sound nicer. And like filling up the refrigerator somehow always fell on, because my company like was really nice and they would provide like drinks and snacks and stuff, and like stocking the kitchen always tended to fall on women and not the men. That's not totally true. I mean, there weren't like strict rules. This is what I noticed, was the majority of the time it was a woman that was doing it. But the phone thing was actually said. Somebody said, no, it's just nicer for, other than that, it was a fantastic place to work. But it was just like, I don't know, maybe I just hated it because like I said, I'm quiet and I don't like to talk to people that I don't know all that well. And so answering the phone was torture to me. And so this felt like I had to conform in a way that not okay to me. And that's why it sticks with me so much. But I don't know, that maybe that's weird that's the biggest thing that sticks out to me, because I have lived probably a very charmed life, because that's like the worst thing that's that I felt pressured to do, that like actually felt like a massive amount of pressure to me. But I'll pass it on to you, Tabitha.
Well, the messages that came from my culture as a kid was, you have to fight. You can't be weak. Things are tough. You have to be tough. That was difficult for me because I'm really really soft-hearted and I don't want to fight, but it was no option. It was either you fight or you're going to be, at the bottom, and that's the worst place to be. So despite the situation, you had to fight. I have a bunch of cousins, and and if you were in this situation, you had to fight. There are opportunities where I was like, okay, I'm a sensitive kid, but you have to push down that sensitivity. And here I am with tears in my eyes, and I'm going in and I'm gonna fight. And even though this is completely against who I am, this is the message that was sent. This is what had to happen. It wasn't like, my real personality was like, well, can we talk this out? Can we be reasonable? That kid is not allowed. But growing up, I would say like middle school, I would say like the message was just survive. So that kind of meant for me just being under the radar, not overly popular, not the weakest link, just right in that middle, just kind of coasting, like not causing any issues. I'm not interested in your boyfriend. Like I'm staying right in the middle, that sweet spot, so that I can sail through unnoticed, not a problem. And I still feel like I don't even know if that was just what I perceived, like to say, okay, I'm sizing up the situation. And after I've sized up the situation, I was like, okay, I'm not one of them. I don't have as much money to be one of them. So, but I know that I can be the best that I can be. So maybe I can just fall in the middle somewhere and survive and get this thing done. So that was pretty much the mode all through school, all through high school. And I don't know, I don't have a problem with, I don't have a problem with that, thinking about it now, because I was just saying that was just my perspective and my way to survive. But I do agree with that things are different now, because when I was growing up, I didn't have so much access, so much social media, where everyone now is a superstar. So there's more pressure to be, your A game at all times. So I think that the messages, even though they're saying it's more pressure now because of what we have exposure to. But definitely some of the other things from our culture that I think were messages were like, if you were going to be attractive, for my community, it was like, okay, number one was your hair. hair had to be nice. You could look kind of messed up, but your hair had to look great. You had to skin tone was a factor. If your skin was too dark, that was an issue. Also, like I said, I think weight wasn't a big issue. It was just pretty much if you were curvy in the right places, no one cared. But those were the messages that were sent, and I don't know. They still have an impact, of course, now with me today. But I think that, you know, as you get older, you're kind of like, you just let a whole lot of things like just out of your mind. It's like, I'm not interested in that. I have like kids, I have a mortgage. I'm not interested in those things. Like, they don't define me. They don't influence me. But at the same time, they try to come back. And then you'll have to, like, you know, push all those things back down and say, yeah, this is, you know, I'm free from that. I don't have to conform to all of those things. I have made the decision that I have other goals and more important things in my life. But those were some of the messages. And I think that, you know, I feel like, I don't know, I navigated them well. And I think that that's because I didn't have to deal with social media. But I think if things were changed, I'd probably be really devastating to deal with it, you know, now with the way things are. But that's just my point of view. I'll pass it on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my pressure to conform, it was different. My mom raised me, definitely. My dad wasn't in the picture most of my life. Raised me to be strong and independent and always told me I could do whatever I wanted. And then, but her mom, my grandma, you know, was constantly expecting me. I can remember when one of my cousins and his girlfriend got pregnant unexpectedly. They were unmarried, but because he was, you know, fulfilling his duty to have a child, and she was fulfilling her duty to have a child. Like, I can remember my grandma saying to me, like, look at you, you're 19, you're not with anybody, you know, what, are you just going to be an old maid for the rest of your life? At 19, because I wasn't unwed and pregnant. So, you know what I mean? Just different. I mean, and not that the expectation was that I would be unwed and pregnant, but definitely, like, I needed to be attached to to somebody and be on my way to getting married and making lots of babies, which I still never did. But I mean, that was always a big pressure, and my grandma definitely, you know, expected me, and I spent a lot of time with her. She expected me to be quiet, and, you know, a servient female. I mean, like, even most of my same age cousins were male, and I had to defer to them and everything. I mean, you know, it would be dinner time, and they would, you know, she would ask them, oh, hey, do you want cheese on your hamburger, for example? And if they said yes, she would give me the directive, Sarah, go get cheese for their hamburgers. I mean, like, those were the expectations, but that's not the way, you know, me. She raised me to be very independent and make my own choices. So I don't know, I got, you know, mixed messages, and I'm kind of a willful and defiant person. So my grandma and I had a tumultuous relationship for a long time, because I kind of pushed back against that. But I don't know. So I don't feel like I entirely conform to the rules, because again, that defiant nature, I refused to buy into that. At least my representative did, right? I mean, I think to some extent, I armored myself similarly to Glennon, just in a way to combat the expectations that I felt were had of me.
So I don't know. I grew up in a house of boys. So, and when I was young, I lived at the baseball field, the soccer field, the ice rink, because my brothers played soccer, baseball, hockey. I was around boys all the time. That's all I was around. And so my personality is very, like, masculine in that way. But so I was like, I'm going to try soccer once in 3rd grade. And I danced in the field because I would rather dance and wear pretty clothes and be into fashion and stuff. But I'm 5'2" and I'm curvy, and I've been about this size since I was in 8th grade. So 8th grade and junior high were really like, oh my gosh, you know, I was bigger than all the other girls, but it's because I was already womanly. And my best friends were like 5'10" and 120 pounds, 5'8" and 110 pounds with the 6-pack. And so next to them, I was always like short and round. But I knew I was like healthy because I danced, and I danced like 10 to 20 hours a week on it. I don't know. Of course, I like any girl, you feel like I could be skinnier and I could be more fit and I could be prettier. And I was like, boys don't like me, you know, because they don't understand that this is like what a girl should look like or can look like, not should necessarily. But my mom would say, like, you don't want all, you know, she knew that I had I had priorities of what I wanted and what I wanted to do with boys and didn't want to do with boys. And she was like, well, that's really why they don't like you, is because right now they think that girls are for this. And you are like, from the time I started dating, I was like, if I dated a guy for more than a week or two and I was like, I can't marry that guy, then I wouldn't date him. And I'd be like, peace out. And so like I broke up with a guy, he was 19 and I was 14 and I was dating him. And I was like, yeah, I think we should break up. Like, I don't know where your future's going. You live in your parents' basement and you're 19. And he was like, okay. When I got older, I realized I was like more normal for that age, but I thought that was a little old to be living with your parents. Because he should have had his life together by 19. And then, so I got lucky and I met my husband when I was 16. And I don't know, I think because I was around boys all the time and my brothers used to pick on me so much that I just learned to like fight back and say what I wanted to say. And I think by nature, because like Hayden, I'm a Taurus and I just say what I want to say. And I don't really care if that makes me awkward. And even my husband's like, shh, you can't say that. And I'm like, what? That's what I was thinking. I gotta say it. Like, I've learned to be more graceful as I'm older because, you know, the truth can hurt and you don't necessarily need to be hurtful. But I think like in this book, that was definitely like when she's like my representative, I'm like, just say what you're saying. Like, really, like people will still be your friend. And if they're not, like, who cares? You don't need that person. And I never had trouble like having friends. I had tons of friends and I hung out and drove everyone around. And my friends who were like weird, to me that was weird, like that they would hide like things they thought. I was like, why don't you just let people know that you're doing this or that and that's what you really think? And as I got older, they all realized like, oh yeah, you can just say what you think. But so I don't know, I think a lot of it comes from we think society wants us to be this way, but really it doesn't matter. People will accept you for you because everyone's so worried about themselves that they don't really have time to be worried about you is what I think I've really found out.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. Jana, I can completely relate to that growth spurt in middle school because I left that part of the story out just for kind of time's sake. But yeah, I got my growth spurt. I've been about this size, height and size since 7th grade. So yeah, it was tough. I remember praying to God every day that I would stop growing. And I went to the doctor and he told me I was going to be 6 feet tall. And I was like so scared. So anyway, it's funny how that, you know, experience in my family and then like going to school and just really being bigger than everyone. Like I'm still in 7th grade and I'm bigger than everyone on some days, which is just so funny. Anyway, all right. Oh my gosh, we're coming up on an hour. So we'll try and go a little bit quicker on this question. Oh, you guys, will you stop typing in the chat for just a minute, my chatter, so I can read the question? All right, reflecting on a passage from Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart, which is an amazing book. Glennon realizes that pursuing the journey of the warrior means enduring the hot loneliness without reaching for what Glennon calls the easy buttons. What are some of your go-to easy buttons? What happens when you resist pressing them and choose stillness instead? So this is something that I'm really working on this year especially, and that is not hitting the easy button and grabbing food. So I'm very disciplined with things that I can do all or nothing. Like anything I can put in an all or nothing situation, I'm good to go. So, obviously I can't put food in an all or nothing scenario. I can't eat enough for, I can't eat enough today to be not hungry tomorrow, right? Like we all have to keep eating. And so it's just so tough for me to manage that when I want to use food as a reward and to take the edge off. And I think she says in the book, food is not the reward. And I constantly have to remind myself of that. But that is definitely my easy button. It's something that I've struggled with my entire life. And yeah, I'm 30 years old and I'm still working through it and probably will be forever. So yeah, candidly, that is definitely, food is my easy button. How about you, Cindy?
Cindy took a pass, so I'll go ahead and go. Food is also my go-to, as well as TV. But I don't think I'm going to be able to give my TV up because it keeps me from losing my mind. But food is definitely mine as well. And I'll be 30 this year, and I've yet to tell myself that it's okay that cake, even though I really want it, if I didn't work out enough. So I struggle with that too, and I feel you on that, Lisa Marie.
I'll go. Sorry. I'll go. I would say food also, sugar. Totally have a sugar fix. Cake, candy. But also anything that kind of just allows me to completely zone out. Netflix has not been a good thing because I'll like completely binge on my favorite show or just want to get into fantasy world for a bit and just completely zone out. I don't want to think or deal. So right now I just want to, get into a movie or a good book. But those are definitely easy buttons where you're just like, okay, I don't want to deal with that right now. So I guess if I'm trying to be still, force myself to be still, I can have moments of stillness, but I have to force myself and just like really pray and not just automatically go to the easy button. Cause like you said, the easy button is easy and it's a habit that's been around for a while, but I'm trying to like actually just completely freeze and say, okay, don't do anything right now. Like just don't move right now and count this down and try to figure out something else to do instead. Let's do a replacement. Some people that I know, like my husband, he's like, okay, he'll exercise his out. And I'm just like, oh man, why can't I be like you? That sounds so awesome. But then the pain hits and I'm just like, I don't like that too much. But those are some of my easy buttons. And but I definitely say that we all have something. Are we willing to admit what that is, or is part of the journey?
Yeah, food is definitely a easy button for me. I'm a stress eater, I'm a comfort eater, I'm a happy eater. It's definitely like my go-to easy button. And then the other would be like escape activities. Like I will either rather than to sit with something, I will like find a book that I know is just like completely not, like it has to be fiction, it has to be completely nothing like anything I can experience in life, like total escape fiction, which is why I like like fantasy and stuff about witches and vampires and like, 'cause that's just not real life. So total escape fiction for me. And then I also like even just like my escape button, because I am just total weirdo, awkward social person. So my escape button, like in awkward social situations, is my phone, like hopping on social media or, like texting somebody else, like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna die. So I have been like, that's the one thing. I don't know if I will ever be able to give up my escape fiction easy button, but I have been really working on like even just not picking up my phone like when I'm waiting at a restaurant for like that I'm meeting a friend or something, like actually just sitting there and either looking at the menu or looking around my, like that's my, because my escape would be to just hop on my phone and scroll through social media or even like read a book on my phone. So that's been my like one small step to not take the easy button, because that's a definite easy button for me.
I think like Sarah, like just escape things. And I don't think those things are bad. It's just when you're using them for like the avoidance purposes. And so I know if I'm like, okay, I've been watching Netflix for like 10 hours and I know I have a stack of papers to grade. That's like, I'm not dealing with what I'm supposed to be dealing with. So I'll like, it's procrastination. So it could be, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to grade the papers now. Oh, but let me just check my phone and let me just do this. Like if I notice I'm stacking like all of the things compounded on top of each other, then I'm like, oh, I'm using this right now to avoid whatever. But like my husband and I like we have a joke. My friends actually have a joke about me. They're like, you just live like from crisis to crisis. Cause we had like, so far this year's been good. Like the past like 14 months, but like we had like probably 6 years where it was like, what's going to be the next like $10,000 crisis? So like you just kind of like dealing like in like survival mode constantly, that I like wasn't doing anything productive because I was just like, I have to just watch TV because I worked 80 hours this week to pay medical bills, or, you know, like, but it became a bad habit then in between times when we weren't having crisis, I would still be doing that because it became such a bad habit. And so just kind of like getting out of that and being like, okay, like, yes, let's go outside and go to the park. And, you know, like instead of like locking myself in a dark room like a vampire with my computer or my book.
Yeah, great ones. I didn't share too that work is another total easy button, because for years I'm like, oh, I'll just get ahead on this, you know, I'll just catch up on this. And I have a lot to show for it, and that I've built 2 careers, but I also need to live. And one thing I did, I'm just sharing this in case it helps someone else, is I've totally stopped using work as an easy button, in that I got a standing desk from IKEA. It's amazing because there's just a little button and it raises up and down. So if I need to sit down, like now I can sit. And if I, you know, the rest of the time I make myself stand. So I make myself stand when I'm doing email, when I'm doing anything. And that has really helped me not hit the easy button, because I can't just zone out and work. I have to stand. And yeah, it's just been awesome. So I don't know, just something to think about for you. And I know that I have friends who have gotten doctor's notes to have standing desks installed in their workplaces and stuff, just because they had, you know, back problems and, you know, issues that were caused from sitting all day, because it really isn't good for us. And a lot of us are in situations where that is the norm, work situations where that is the norm. So I work from home, so I can install whatever desk I want. But yeah, the standing desk has really been a game changer. So anyway, now I just have to conquer my food eating button my food easy button, and we'll be all good. All right, so I want to be courteous of your guys' time. So if anyone wants to pass, or we just want to go over this one quickly, because so much of it is what we've already said, we totally can. But the next question, second to the last question, is, did Glennon's growth change your outlook on your, sorry, the chat disappears the question. Let me look over here. Did Glennon's growth change your outlook on your own behavior or inspire change in your own life? So if there's anything that any of us wants to share that's a takeaway from the book, I would absolutely love to hear it. That's kind of why we read, right? To find out that we're not alone. That's a famous quote. And also to just kind of unpack things together and learn from the books. Someone in the chat said, you know, we might all not enjoy the same book, but we can all learn from it, and true words are never spoken. I absolutely love that. So, all right, Cindy, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, just briefly, I think just getting back to basics, and I love the analogy of the easy button. I never thought of it that way. You know, I usually think about it as an escape or a crutch, but definitely an easy button gives you a little bit of a different perspective. So yeah, I'll definitely take that forward. It's a good takeaway for sure.
I think, I don't know that it's a takeaway from this book necessarily, but in this book you get to see kind of what happens in a real situation where you don't have this, but just the importance of honesty in relationships, not just between people who are married, but in all of your relationships, just how important it is to present who you really are to people, not only for them to get to know you, but so that you can remain true to yourself, and you don't have like this crisis of like, I've been pretending to be something I don't want to be my entire life, and just like learning how to do that if you don't know. It's easy for me to hide parts of myself, and it works out that I'm married to somebody who is good at drawing that out of me. But my life could be a lot different if I didn't have that. And I've learned to be more honest with myself and others. And I'm so grateful that I've done that at a relatively early point in my life, that I learned how to do that so that I didn't find myself in a situation similar to what she talks about in this book.
So my takeaway is from the title. Despite the fact that I didn't enjoy the book, I do love the title. I like the title Love Warrior, but the imagery that it creates in my mind is, she talked about yoga and she talked about having a warrior pose, but I think about like, it's a fight, it's a fight for us to love ourselves. And, it's a fight worth fighting. So that's going to be my takeaway from the book, is just this imagery that I have in my head whenever I think about the title Love Warrior, like, fight to love yourself. So that's my takeaway.
Anyone else?
I wasn't sure if Sarah was going or not.
Okay.
My takeaway is that, just kind of like be yourself. Like Genie tells Aladdin, be yourself, right? I know she this is on the Disney in here, but I took all the good stuff. I was the person who took all the good stuff from the Disney and missed all the bad stuff. Cause when people diss on Disney, I'm always like, I didn't get that. That's not how I felt about it. I took all the good, be friends and be yourself and all of those messages from the Disney stuff. And I knew that happily ever afters were just the beginning, and I don't know, but definitely be yourself and just kind of just be honest and be true. And I don't know, the truth is just so powerful. And I think that we live in a society, we live in a post-truth society, so people don't believe there's truth, and so that's kind of complicated and stuff. So but I think that just being true and honest and true to yourself, and not just yourself, because sometimes we can deceive ourselves. So but just I think focusing on truth and reality.
All right, I love it. I also really liked how she said that she believes your spouse is your healing partner. That I think she said, and I may be butchering the quote, but she said, God brings the person to you that will help you heal as your partner. And I just thought that was so inspiring. If you guys want to pray that I find my healing partner, I would love it. I just never thought of it that way, but it's so true. Okay. Oh my gosh, we are coming right up on time. So really quickly, and if you don't have a recommendation, that's totally fine. But I know that I love to get my to be read list out and kind of get some new titles. So if you love Warrior, what book would you recommend? So for me, if you love Warrior, I would say anything by Brene Brown is going to rock your world. I haven't read Rising Strong. I haven't read her latest, but I have read The Gifts of Imperfection and also Daring Greatly. Those both are just absolutely killer. I feel like I could read those once a year and just always get something new out of those. So yeah, those two hands down. And feel free to take a pass on this, of course, book chatter. So Cindy, you passed. Hayden, any recommendations?
I don't want to call this a recommendation because I haven't read it, so I don't know how it is, but I just started reading a book today called After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's fiction, and it reminds me of Love Warrior because it follows a couple who is married and they're having problems in their marriage, and they decide to take a break and then come back together and see if they can work things out. I don't know how it turns out. I'm like, I don't know, 20 pages in, so who knows where it will go. But I have read other stuff by this author that is quick and easy to read, but makes you think about bigger issues. And so I just want to throw that out there if anybody is interested in that story.
So mine is not related to this book, but I hope you guys can see it. This is super cute. It's like this devotional for little girls. I got this for my daughter, but it is so nice. And little pretty pictures inside, little devotionals for a little girl. I don't know if any of you guys have family or little nieces, nephews. This one I recommend. It's really cute. That's it.
No other recommendations. Okay, well that concludes February's book chat. Thank you guys so much for joining us and just spending your evening with us, and also just committing to reading a book a month with us, even though it might not be, you know, an easy book for you to get through. So the next book, I have a feeling might be an easier one for a lot of us, and that is The Nest. So this book is a fiction book. I first heard about it from Book of the Month, which is just been so fun. If you want more information about Book of the Month at bookofthemonth.com. I know that a lot of us have joined this year and really enjoyed it. And so I grabbed this book and I never got to reading it, and I'm still just, I see it on my bookshelf, and you know how every time you see like a certain book on your bookshelf, you're like, oh, I have to read that one next. So that's how I felt about The Nest for the longest. So I'm excited to read this. It's about, I think, 4 siblings who all need this trust fund really very badly for various reasons, and it's just a good old-fashioned fun fiction read. So this should be a really good spring read for all of us. So I'm excited to be back here the last Thursday of the month. I'm not sure of the exact date, but every single book chat this year is the last Thursday of the month. So there's no changes. We just got lucky with Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, and that they fell in a manner that lets us meet every Thursday this year. So I will see you in March, and I can't wait to hear about your March. We'll start our icebreaker is, what was your high and low for March? So if you want to keep that in mind for the next time we see each other, that would be fun. All right, good night, you guys. Sleep tight.